Summer Beni Enma might be the most broken Berserker FGO has released in a while. She's already a strong AoE Arts Berserker, a 50% battery, heavy self-buff, super effective damage against evil, and bonus damage against undead, but her real gimmick is skill 1. At max level, it has a 1-turn cooldown, generates 30 slots per use, and cycles through a rotating set of party buffs. The catch is a brand new mechanic called a Fullness Gauge. Manage it wrong, and skill 1 stop buffing your servants entirely. So in this guide, I'll break down the Fullness Gauge, her kit, her strength and weakness, and which teams get the most out of her. Beni's passive gives every servant on your team their own individual Fullness Gauge at the start of the battle. Most servants cap at 4, servants with super large rate starts with a cap of 8 instead. There are 2 ways to lower it. Attacking enemy reduces 1 fullness, if the attack is a crit, it reduces 2. Beni also has a third way through skill 2, but more on that shortly. Skill 1 has a 1-turn cooldown at max level, each use generates 30 crit stars, raises everyone's fullness by 2, and triggers a party effect based on how many times you use it in the battle. First use gives a free turn 20% party attack, second use gives a free turn 2000 HP party max HP up, third use gives a 20% party MP charge, fourth use gives a free turn 20% party MP damage up, fifth use gives a free turn 50% party crit damage up, and the sixth use heals the party for 10,000 HP. Then it loops back to the first effect. There's also a rare bonus on the first use where Beni can trigger all 6 effects at once and fully refill the party's fullness. The key interaction here is a pen skill 5. Since skill 1 already has a 1-turn cooldown, skill reload can clear that cooldown right after the first activation, letting Beni use skill 1 twice on turn 1. That's 60 star immediately, enough to guarantee a 100% crit chance plus the first 2 serving effects. But here's the restriction. Every servant is already at max fullness before Beni activates skill 1, they miss that activation serving effect, but if they're under the cap going in, they still get the effect even if that same activation pushes them over it afterwards. Skill 2 gives Beni 30% odds and buster up, 50% crit damage up, and a free hit evade over 3 turns, and it drops her own fullness by 2. Combined with her star generation from skill 1, this makes it a legitimate secondary damage source outside her MP. And since crits are the fastest way to burn fullness, it also clears room for another serving effect. The evade adds real survivability on top. Skill 3 gives Beni 20% MP damage up. If her own fullness is empty when you activate it, she gets an extra 20% MP damage up, a 100% base instant death chance on her MP for 3 turns, and a 50% battery. You generally want to use skill 3 before skill 1 at the start of the battle. The instant death is nice against low rarity farming enemies, but resistance varies on enemy, so I wouldn't build around it. Her MP is a 7-hit AoE Arts Noble Phantasm. Before damage, she gains 50% special damage against undead for 1 turn, then deals 150% super effective damage against evil. Evil is common enough among servants that this lands often, and as a berserker, she already has class advantage over most of the servants. After damage, the MP raises everyone's fullness cap by 4, non-stackable, boosts party max HP for 5 turns, charges the party's MP gauge 10 to 30% based on overcharge, and cleanses poison, curse, burn, and defensive debuffs. That's a lot of utility for an AoE berserker, survivability, cleanse, MP charge, and more rooms under the fullness cap or in 1 MP. With skill 3 used as 0 fullness and skill 1's first activation, she's already stacking 90% across 3 damage types. Reach skill 1's 4th activation and that climbs to 110%, adding her battery, berserker coverage, and a 7-hit MP, and the farming potential, especially against evil or undead, is excellent. Once skill 1's 5th effect is up, the party gets 50% crit damage, and Beni already has 50% from skill 2 plus 10% passive, so she has around 110% total crit up before any outside support. With 30 stars per skill 1 use and every crit consuming 2 fullness, her damage and her gauge management reinforces each other. She also doubles as a wave 1 attacker and later a support. Through skill 1, she eventually offered 20% party attack, 20% MP damage, 20% MP charge, and her MP adds another 10 to 30% MP charge on top. The catch is timing. MP damage is the 4th skill 1 effect, so even with a pen skill 5, you're not reaching it until around turn 3. And the evade from skill 2, max HP buff, and a 10,000 HP heals from skill 1, more max HP and debuff cleanse from the MP plus passive debuff resistant, buff removal resistant, and skill seal immunity, that makes her far more comfortable than most Berserker in longer fights, and longer fights means more skill 1 cycles. However, 2 skill 1 use fills a standard 4-point gauge and a strike per servant, so you're constantly asking who's full, who needs the next buff, and who has room left. Your main DPS is attacking constantly, so their fullness is easy to manage. Support you barely command can just sit at max, which is fine, but for multi-core DPS or in a longer fight, this will become an issue. And because non-damaging support MPs does not consume fullness at all, Beni noticeably requires more planning than a typical farmer or support. It also creates an odd interaction with Tamamo. Her MP reduces cooldown during the attack phase. By the next turn, that 1-turn skill is back up anyways, so it doesn't accelerate skill 1, though it still helps her skill 2 and 3. And because the rotation keeps advancing even when a servant misses an effect, bad fullness management can cost you a buff you've been waiting turns for. For pushing skill 1 as far as possible, double Ultra of the End is one of the best options. Urge skill 2 cuts one ally cooldown by 1 and gets 50% MP charge plus 30% odds due to a 1-turn skill. An example with a Pen 5, in turn 1, use skill 3 first when fullness is empty, then skill 1 twice, skill 2 to shave 2 fullness, then her MP, which raises her cap to 8, in turn 2, skill 1 for the 3rd effect, then Earth resets it for the 4th, in turn 3, skill 1 for the 5th effect, Earth resets it again, and skill 1 for the 6th. With both Earth's buff activate, Beni gets a 6 surfing effect by turn 3, roughly 130% odds, 60% attack, 60% MP damage, and around 110% crit damage on Beni. For actual farming though, the 6th effect, the heal, is useless and a 3-turn clear. Instead, use Earth's first reset to fully charge Beni's NP at turn 1, then save the second Earth's reset for the 50% crit damage on turn 3. This achieves the same offensive ceiling, and it sets up a strong crit finisher on tough 90++ enemies thanks to the constant Star Bomb. The Alice Academy uniform can shape skill 3's cooldown to for an extra 50% battery mid-fight. Obviously, you don't need to go this deep. Standard support like Castoria still works, Relati with Swansword's MP for more MP damage, or Ascalavis if you want a big MP charge boost. For longer fights, Summer Beni Enma brings odd support plus defensive utility that pairs well with Beni's own survivability, and her super large trade means she starts at 8 fullness instead of 4, able to receive more party buffs than other servants. Beni's repeated 30 star ball makes Jane's store threshold easy to hit, unlocking extra crit support and ignore invincibility. For multi-core, Noah and newer Mary stands out. Noah's MP gives 10% MP charge to everyone and another 10% to animal trait allies, and Beni qualifies. Noah also gives and gains extra offensive buffs when animal trait allies is at the front line, so they both benefit each other. Yuga first to Ascension also carried the super large trait, giving her an 8-point cap, though her first Ascension loses it, so it's worth checking before you build around her. Her card manipulation also makes it easy to force crit brave chains while burning through her own fullness, and natural fit with Beni's store generations. Overall, Summer Beni Enma requires real understanding to use her well. The Fullness Gauge isn't what makes her strong, it's what stops her 1-turn skill 1 from being completely broken. She's not as plug and play as Summer Ibuki, but she offers a different ceiling, massive self buffs, strong MP and crit damage, multi-core support, and a 1-turn skill unlike anything else in the game. So it's less is Beni stronger than Summer Ibuki, it's more what does your account actually need. If you don't have a strong Summer Ibuki, I will aim for MP2 if budget allows it. The extra coin makes a pen skill 2 and 5 much easier to get without heavy bond investment. If you already have a strong Ibuki, MP1 Beni is easy to justify as a unique utility pick rather than a replacement. That's all for Summer Beni Enma guide. How will you use her, and is she stronger than Summer Ibuki? Let me know in the comments, and if you want more FGO guides and server breakdowns, leave a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.